All right, so welcome to episode 57 of the Grindhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Cabrera. Across the screen from me is my homie, way back. This guy, fucking, I love this man. We have him here coming fucking pretty much every other week when we're doing sidebar, so get used to him. It's my man, JDM John. What's up, John?
Yo, what's good? Y'all see me in the race. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, shit.
We still out here in these streets, but you know how we do. I
You
do
look
everything a little bit, music, cars.
You look like you're parked in a virtual parking garage.
Yeah. There's no like good virtual background to show like I was looking for the RR like thing behind my head like every time.
You ball, son. You ball, you got it.
Yeah, it's fine.
You caking. You got that virtual phantom.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You see the roof, we got the lotus leaf roof. Y'all ain't seen that before.
That's fully custom.
I love how your skin is molding into the actual vehicle. You know,
Yeah.
like you are
You
one
know
with the
what I'm saying?
phantom.
To build a great car, you got to be the car. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, let's move forward.
So on my other fucking screen is my co-host Chris Martin, aka Critta.
Yo, what's up, guys? Real quick, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us out a lot. Share it with your friends. We have some new merch. Edwin's wearing our new beanie. Hit us up and we can hand deliver it to you locally. Also, if you want to check out our other merch, it's grindhouse.store.
It's cold out right now, snowing. You probably got to go shovel tomorrow. It's gonna be probably 10 degrees the rest of the week. You might as well pick up a new Grindhouse hat. Chuck that old beanie away, you know?
Yeah, with a
Couldn't
nice
be me,
fresh one.
All right, so what do we have for topics today, Critta?
We have a lot of stuff that we want to talk about. The Styles P video that he just put out. He complains about publishing. Yeah, so let's watch the video.
All right, yeah. I'm gonna play this video real quick. Let's peep this. I lost the video. 1 second. All right.
Now, if you're a signed artist and you have publishing, you have to understand that even if you have a publishing quorum, you understand? There is no union for you. You get what I'm saying? There's no union to help you fix the publishing. You got to go to the publishing house. You got to go to your publisher. You got to give you a dispute, and either they hear you or they fix it or they don't. But there's nobody, I deal with people who work in regular things. I deal with Lou Picante. He's the runner of the Teamsters, local Teamsters union for, the sanitation workers and things of that nature. They have a union, they have someone representing them. You understand what I'm saying? So here's what I want to teach y'all. And here's where you have to be who you say you are. For years, like, I'm not coming at Puff. I love Puff. I swear to God to you, I love Puff. He's my big bro. I learned a lot from the game. You know what I mean? But business is business at the end of the day. And Puff did give us our publishing back after our last dispute, but he still, after that album, after the Last Locks album, we got that. He doesn't take it. I appreciate him for that, and it's cool. But if you call Sony up and you say something like, now we have a song like Big Papa, right? We always love Big Papa. It's supposed to be for charity. We respect that. Hit Sony up. Yo, this is what happened. But guess what? People are collecting on it. It's writers on it. It's all of that. And okay, so now you're collecting on it. Let me get paid. Now, if you ask to get paid from back in the days, they only owe you for the past 6 years. This is a fact. I don't know why. I don't know who made this shit up. This is why we need a union. Now, I'm figuring if you already know you had an issue and paid someone else on something, you should just call up me and the other guys who wrote the song and pay them. It's not disrespectful, but if I can't talk to Sony, if I can't figure it out with my publisher, what am I to do? I think a lot of MCs don't even know. So if you've been in the game 20-some years, and you found out something that they was doing wrong for 20 years, they're only responsible for 6. So I figured once they figured out that problem, like you didn't pay me or something, you would just automatically pay me. Being you pay the producer, shouldn't you pay the writers too? And then why are you paying someone who's actually not a writer? That makes no sense, Sony. Now I know I'm a small-time black guy, but you gotta respect people. You gotta respect everyone. See, like Sony, why are you paying Puff on BMF when I told you to don't pay him on BMF, and he told you, but you still pay him? Then you stopped in the States, but you pay out of state. Who am I to talk to? I don't want to argue with you guys, but then you come to it, and you know what they tell me? I'm trying to be a gangster and extort someone. Not Puff, but the lawyers and Sony. This is what they tell me. You don't have the money for litigation. You're trying to extort, and this hurts me. You know why? Because the next person who doesn't have another fucking life on the side or have another business on the side is going to fall victim to this shit because there's no union or no one to speak to. I'm trying to figure out if I got songs with Mariah Carey, J-Lo, BMF, Akon, fucking myself, Good Times, Lodge Joints. The numbers, I don't make enough. Maybe the other people do. I can tell you what I make. I think on publishing for my solo catalog, I make more money on side features than I do with my publishing. I make more money with Cameo. I make more money with fucking whistling than I do with publishing. It's embarrassing that you can't really figure this shit out, and they always got some fucking loophole that you can't figure out. I'm tired of it, dog. Fuck it. Y'all ain't got to pay me, but y'all gonna figure out the way to pay the kids. I make less than 20. I think I want to say I want to make less than, for my personal catalog, I think I make less than 25 G's a year. I don't know how that is. It's confusing to me. I want to understand. So if you have a whole lifetime of catalog, they're only responsible to pay you for the last 6 years. Then they can tell you, nah, I ain't feeling you, we ain't paying you on that. And you ain't got that money to litigate with me. You fucking right. Bro, I thought Big Papa was, nobody was eating off that. Now everybody's eating off of it, but not us. And I'm telling you, I ain't eat and want to eat.
He says one more thing. I'll stop it here. But he says something later on about like the labels only have to pay you for like the last 6 years of some shit. So if they were fucking you, they only have to pay you for the last 6 years of whatever they were fucking you. That is if you found out that they were fucking you, which is completely like
I didn't know that.
Ass backwards. Yeah. He says it later on. I can play it on. I was trying to wait for him to get to that point, but obviously he already said a lot as it is. So much to unpack.
He did mention something like that in the beginning about like not being paid like in the 6-month thing. So I didn't know that's like a thing that labels do.
He's telling you telling you exactly from an artist who's been literally a part of a label for well over 20 years. He's literally telling you what's happening, and he gives you dollar amounts too. Like, did you hear how much? Makes about $25K off of his own publishing a year. That's nothing.
Yeah, no, that's nothing. And one point that he said, he talked about unions. I totally agree. I think that's what artists are missing. I mean, you look at obviously like other industries like have unions, like film has unions and things like that. So like why can't music have like a union?
Well, do you think a union will actually fix anything? Not that like I don't believe in unions or whatever, but it's that like I had some time to unpack this whole situation in my mind, and I don't know if this is the right thing to think about, but it's like, you hear about artists getting like fucked on their deal all the time, right? But like you sign into a major label like Sony and like all those guys, like, I don't know nothing about how the contract lays out, but I was thinking about it as just like, like we hear about 360 deals and all that stuff, but like back in the day, like these artists were taking like, like an advance of, let's say ballpark, like the $700,000 advance, right? And it's like, that's an initial pay cut, but it's like that 700,000, like what we're learning now is like, that's how they were keeping the lights on at Sony, like that was people's bonuses that they were like, everybody at Sony, like the corporate offices, was eating off of this. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter.
Well, also like with the advance thing, a lot of artists, like, sometimes they're not in the know. Like your advances, you have to pay that back in royalties. So like, you might get a $500,000 advance, but you might not see a royalty check for a few years. So you gotta spend your money wisely. But that's also a problem.
Well, that's a problem, exactly, because people, I mean, especially if you don't come from money and then you got all this money to invest in your career, some of that money is going to be invested elsewhere at the same time, because some of that invest in your career is like buying that flashy shit as well, and then like you end up like jumping, like, whereas you could spend that all that money into like your product, and obviously appearance is a part of that as well, but like a lot of people go on the deep end because it's like when you're somebody who didn't come from money and you're just giving that amount. Like, I think the label, there's expectation that you're gonna fuck it up somehow. You know what I'm saying? Because they eat better when you're bound to some sort of whatever it is that they, whatever hole they allow you to dig yourself for them to be able to control you. And I feel like Styles P is talking about that a little bit. And he was talking about Diddy, and I think he kept it super professional. I feel like he could have gone in the past. Obviously, he said a few things, but I feel like he could have gone so much deeper with Diddy. But at the end of the day, he's like, Diddy did let me out, and of whatever contractual agreement I had with him. It obviously took a long time for it to get to that point, but he eventually did. And it's just like he's like he wasn't faulting Diddy for being a part of the game, but he was pretty much saying like we're all a part of the problem. We have to fix it. Like, and we definitely have to fix it for this new generation. Like, this is not something like, and he's right, man. He shouldn't be, how old is Styles P right now? He shouldn't be making 25K a year off his, but like imagine all the other side hustle he has to do just to make ends meet. And that's the legend we're talking about. That shouldn't have happened. So like, I do think that the union would help, because like having a union would essentially, it would be, I feel like, insurance against things you don't know, that especially vets in the game know and understand and can speak to more of. The young people, especially when you're first getting in this game, you're so green, like bright-eyed, you don't know what you're falling into. You're giving an opportunity, and you don't want to blow an opportunity. So whatever opportunity you're given, you're going to take. And usually that opportunity comes with someone, so like a lot of chains. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a union would help, because it would, at the very least, allow for younger artists to be guided by veteran artists, and also veteran artists to eat off of the newer generation. So I would see it as a symbiotic relationship, because these young guys, I definitely do feel like they need guidance. And being in a union, the thing about being in a union is it's everyone. It's not just your voice, it's everybody's voice. So it's like, if the union does something, like, you're expected to go with the union. So it's, like, if you go against the union, like, for whatever reason, because you want to go with, that's typically not how a strong union moves. So if the hip hop actually had a union, and not just a union, but a strong union, where like, if they say some shit like, we're not going to release music until these deals with these streaming whatever are ratified, and we get a larger percentage of the cuts for whatever, that's a strong union. I mean, you look at the unions, baseball, look at baseball's union. That is one of the strongest union ever. Like, those baseball players have it so easy. And then you look at football, those football players, they never have a guaranteed contract. That union is much different than the baseball players, so it's like, unions can go either way. It could be beneficial, or it could sometimes like not be as strong as it should be. It all depends on having a union. And I feel like hip hop just needs a union to begin with, before we get to that place of like judging whether the union is strong enough or not. I do think it could be beneficial to have one, though.
So when you pointed out, like, okay, like, the union will, like, like, not just the union, but like, when people get money, they spend it on this, that, and the third, right? You get your advance, and like, you got to be flashy and get the, whatever. These are, you're talking about like financial literacy, right? And the way I've always perceived like a lot of financial institutions is that it does prey on people who are not as, like, educated about what to do or things to look out for. You know what I mean? Like, an example of like other industries. I know this is a music podcast. I'll get back to like the record label thing, but I think about it a lot when it's like, financing a car. You know what I mean? It's like, basically, like, the process of purchasing a vehicle is actually quite predatory in nature. when you look at contractually the things that they make you sign up for, right? You have like your documentation fees, you have, you know, like outside of like other governing bodies, things such as like taxes and stuff, right? There are things that could be tacked onto there that will actually ensure that you are paying way more than what this is, because it's money in their pocket at the end of the day. The other side of it is that a lot of people know that like you can get financed for a car and get like a super high APR rate and all that stuff, just because they know that like your chances of actually flipping over and not being able to pay for that car is so high that they'll probably just get that thing back anyway. You know what I mean? So they made some money off of you no matter what. And then they're going to just turn around and sell that car again. So when I think of the music industry, I think of it as like they're investing in the fact that like, yo, Styles P and the Locks probably doesn't know what they're going to do with this money. You know what I mean? Like when you're from the hood or whatever, like you get like a $700,000 check. Like how are you supposed to know how to act when you didn't even know really like what like a couple thousand might do for you? You know what I'm saying?
It's not like those deals come with an accountant that's gonna like, I mean, obviously an accountant is something that you get, but like it's not like it's gonna be like this deal comes with everybody that's gonna have your back and make sure that everything that's in your best interest is being looked at. That's not how the music industry works. So like it's easy, like it's you're signing a contract with sharks, and it's like unless you have that like somebody who's in the know and like somebody who's able to represent you, who knows, who's been in the business, and even then that person might be the one. It's like it's the music industry is like it's full of sharks at the end of the day.
It's very similar to how banks operate. I mean, it's or like taking out a car loan. It's labels are basically investment banks. That's what they do. They invest money into you in hopes that they get a return. They take a percentage of whatever you're making, and lock you in for essentially like life, you know. So it's you're selling your music to them, and then they own the masters. So, and then when they have no use for you, they just go and sell you masters.
And Diddy let Styles P out of that deal, I feel like more as a black man than as a businessman. It wasn't because businessmen, they would never let Styles P out of a deal that he signed. That's a good deal for whoever signed him to that deal, which is He did it off the strength, you know, like sure, like, and this has been a conversation that has been going on for forever, but he finally did let him out of the deal, you know, and he didn't have to do that. I feel like that was more of like Diddy being like, as a black man, I'm gonna give this to you, you know, like, but theoretically he didn't have to do that. And that's what Styles talks about. Like he was getting robbed with Diddy, but Diddy at the end of the day let him out of his deal. You know, these other people that he signed to that also have money in him, they're not going to do that. They don't, you know, it's not going to be off the strength, you know. So it is what it is, but it is a strong lesson for, I feel like, young people to learn about when they are getting involved with labels, but also like, you know, what to the point that Styles P was saying, like, I think a union would really help especially the newcomers a lot. And I think it would help the old cats who aren't releasing any records or whatever the case is, because like you would like, there's a pay and there's dues, union dues or whatever like that would help, you know, these older acts be able to sustain more, you know, because $25,000 a year for Styles P's like body of work is sickening. Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hope he, you know, I hope, like, you know, what he said at the end, or well, towards the end of what we watched, right? He was like, I hope them young boys are able to, you know, like, we don't got to get paid, but we want the young boys to get paid. You know what I mean? It's like, get these kids their money and stuff like that. It's like, I think, it's like when you walk into Sony, I've never been in Sony myself, but I imagine like there's a wow factor, right? It's like, oh man, you're like in a corporate world now. Like you got the execs, you got the beautiful offices, and like they're promising you, you know, everything in the world, right? Because like when you were the artist, or rather like any type of like creator, I feel like you gotta remember like you are the product, right? So like very likely so, like since you are the product, you do have an expiration date, and you also are like, you have a really narrow window of time where you're hot and then you're not, right? So I think like artists, like unfortunately, like the music industry is just going to be predatory until we decide to change it. You know what I mean? Like with all these smaller labels such as Grindhouse coming up, that, you know what I'm saying, shout out to y'all.
Shout out.
Like for like, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta have like all these like small subset companies that start to pop up, because now the big companies are just like, yo, like nobody's coming to sign with us because like y'all taking like $7-8 million bonuses off of like a mad artist, but then like ripping them off at the same time. Whereas like I think like I was listening to like another pod where the person on there was just like, yo, like let's just be on our Master P shit and like sell like 500 units out the trunk of the car, you know? And I'm just like, yo, that 500 units might not seem like a lot of money, but you probably like learn so much more and probably get even more movement on the street than you would.
Yeah. I think I really do think it's playing the long game versus the short game. The short game is if you get signed by a label, they're financing your career, but eventually that door is going to come knocking and they expect that money back. The long game is you do it all yourself. You create some traction yourself. It's going to cost you some bread eventually, but hopefully you make some bread along the way. And once you get hot, like, you know, some of these rappers who've been independent throughout, you know, once you get hot, that money's going straight up to you, you know. And then there's some rappers who like they get hot, they sign a deal, but it's a deal in their favor and they can get out of the deal, like, you know, and be able to go independent again. We've seen that with a few artists, but like at the end of the day, if you play the long game, you know, you're going to get a better deal because you have a better negotiating, you know, position to be in. If you're trying to just get discovered through a label, I feel like that's usually when you're getting fucked. So
I mean, yeah, definitely. And a good example of what you just said is Griselda. They basically built up their fan base themselves and then literally made the labels come to them, you know, for deals. So I mean, I think that approach is far better, and I think you'll have, you know, a better career from it. So
people got to eat.
Yeah.
That's where the predatory factor comes in with the music industry. They know people got to eat. That's what they're relying on.
Anyway, and I also think just one thing in why you're seeing so many artists, you know, push the idea of owning their publishing, also just being independent. I think you're gonna see more of that going forward.
Word. You want to transition?
Yeah, let's talk about. So I recently did some like sort of like market research in basically all the hip hop hubs plus Boston. One thing I did notice is that there's like way less fans of hip hop in Boston, which makes a lot of sense, but just like less hip hop fans that interact with you know, just
hip hop content.
Yeah. And obviously last week we interviewed Juke and he mentioned like you have so many like artists here, but you don't have like people that support who are just like just general fans of hip hop. You don't have that here, or you don't have a lot of it here. And I think in other places you definitely have that, but I don't know if Boston has that. It's mostly like the people that are in the hip hop shit here are an artist, or you know, you do media, you're like an engineer, you're something. You have some involvement in the community.
I think that's not surprising to me. I think it's something that we've already mentioned before on the podcast, all the way from the beginning. First episode, we've talked about that. The fact that, you know, there is a large community of people who are the artists here are supportive, super supportive of each other. It's great to see that. It hasn't always been that way, but it definitely has become the culture in Lynn. And the community hasn't been as supportive, and we've talked about that multiple times with multiple guests, you know, and we've had, you know, Juke is one you talked about. I talk about Estes, you know, what his experience was as well. You know, he talked about how like he felt like he had to go elsewhere to really kind of get his career moving. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that, you know. And so we've had different people's takes on this conversation. It just, I guess these numbers kind of back up exactly what all those people have said, and something I guess for us to consider. And I also think like while the numbers do show that, I am still of the firm belief that it's up to us, like what if we care that much. Like I think first of all, if you love what you do, you don't really care who cares. Like if somebody's like following you or whatever, like this shit is gonna happen whether people fucking support it or not. But if we do want to get more people to support, because we want to hopefully be able to get like you know, just recognition for the shit that's happening, I think that burden falls on us as like supporters of the culture and also like people of the culture of hip hop in Lynn. Obviously you and I were working on a few things to try to get, you know, more community engagement, but I do think that like, you know, that is a level of something that needs to be done, is for us to be more connected with the community. And I think that not just us, but we have to push people at City Hall to be more connected with the community, because there's a huge hip hop community here. So we got to make sure that we're getting supported by, you know, the people in the culture, but also the people who are able to give funds for us to, you know, like there's a lot of grants and shit like that that people can get out there that really can support the culture. There's a lot of like, you know, I don't know, there's just a lot of ways to raise awareness of the culture. And I feel like if we, as people who support and fuck with the culture, try to move forward in that direction, you know, if you build it, they'll come, essentially.
Yeah, I think hip hop isn't just the one detail in Boston also that doesn't have like that hardcore community support, or like, you know, you hear about you got to leave Massachusetts to basically go do whatever it is you want to, like, you know, or into sometimes, like compared to New York City, right? It's like, I'm sure like if there wasn't like a big enough support system, like we probably wouldn't know nothing about New York hip hop in its entirety. Because you have clusters of hip hop all over the Northeast, such as like Connecticut, even, right? Like Hartford and all that stuff. I'm sure they got some stuff going on. You might even have something in like New Hampshire that we don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Like there's hip hop clubs even in colleges and stuff. I don't think like hip hop doesn't exist. I just think that like, honestly, like in the Northeast, we just don't come together enough to really like support each other. You know what I'm saying? It's not like New York, it's not like Florida, it's not like Atlanta, it's not about like the West Coast. It's like we all kind of like work within these little like confines of like all the same subject, but no one's like, you know, the community's not there. I'm sure it is though. But.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for the people who don't support, even though obviously you know who the fuck I am. I definitely support the culture, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate for people who don't support the culture. And I'm gonna say this. I think that people, sometimes you can be as talented as they fucking come, but at the end of the day, what people want is a proof of concept. They want something that's already been established. They want something that's already been recognized as being good. They want something that's mainstream. Like you see what Joyner's doing in Worcester. Like people need we wish that people were like people in Atlanta that can see it happen. But that's because Atlanta has had star power after star power after star power come through. Atlanta's been running hip hop for a long time. So it's easy for them to get into the ground early, because they've had a proof of concept with a lot of the acts that they've put out. You know, same thing in New York, same thing in LA. Even though in LA, I hear all the time that the support over there is also lackluster. But like, I think in Lynn, because in Lynn, Boston, Massachusetts in general, aside from Joyner, I think, and even Joyner until he popped, and he's actually my example. Like, I think people around here, because they don't get it that often, we haven't had like a huge hip hop star that really reps Boston. You know, Guru's from Boston, but he really kind of reps New York, especially like, you know, like during school. I feel like he was more New York than he was Boston. I think people just need a proof of concept. People need somebody that they already know is famous. And once you are, then that's when you're this. It's sad to say, but I think it's just like the truth behind people. They don't, you know, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the proof of concept thing is like, it's so real, right? It's like, the thing is, you don't get to prove a concept by just leaving. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think like it's kind of like we talked about in the past subject, right, with Styles P and like Sony and stuff like that, where it's like, all right, like since y'all just gonna fuck us over, we're just gonna go make our own record label. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like proof of concept wise, I think it's beautiful what you guys are doing in Lynn. Like when I follow like your topics and content and stuff, it's like, yo, like there's like for real hip hop in Lynn. There's for real hip hop in Boston. Like you go to Worcester and probably throw a show, and there's probably be a lot of hip hop heads that show up, right? It's like that's the kind of, I feel like generation, like generating that like energy within your own area, because it's like, you know what, like if people aren't gonna latch onto you because it's hot, like you're already hot, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like you might as well create your own hype within the circles that understand that shit, because eventually it's like a crowd mentality, right? Like people are gonna be like, oh yo, like I heard this one artist locally is really good because like I actually heard it banging on a car that was driving by or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I feel like how do you guys feel about this when it comes to like how do you keep motivated when things aren't getting hot for you?
I mean, I'm just a big advocate of like just pushing forward. Like you're not gonna have good days every day, so like if we're not feeling the love, like we just keep it moving. We go into the next thing, you know. So what about you, Edwin?
Yeah, man, I agree. I think I've been I've had my shit kicked in plenty of times, and I've been able to take my steps back and then continue moving forward. I think the main thing is not giving up. You know what I'm saying? Like if you love it, at the end of the day, you don't if it, nothing as long as you're doing what you love. I think that's all that really matters. And you're gonna have your days where that shit is tough. Like doing what you love is tough, and days where that shit is paying the fuck off. But like it's some of those days are few and far between. But I'm with you, man. I think that you gotta, like, if you love it, man, you just gotta keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do it. All right. So, do we want to move on to the next topic?
Let's do it.
Any
fuck
last
the
words?
market, son.
Let's talk about Conway supposedly leaving Griselda.
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit, but
Yeah, I think
I don't
he
think
just
it's-
went on the Joe Budden podcast, and I think he just talked about that. That's obviously not the case. But at the same time, he's not saying that it's not fully the case. It's somewhere in between. It's absolutely somewhere in between. If you listen to I've listened to the Joe Budden podcast, he pretty much states that like their family, like obviously nothing will get in their way, but they don't have to be together 24/7. Like
Yeah.
I think that really says it all, even though it says a little, but it says so much at the same time. And then he mentioned how he's doing his thing with drum work. I think that says
Yeah.
it all. I think he really is focusing on his own thing, but it's not gonna be like they're gonna be bitter enemies. It's gonna be probably I wouldn't say it probably would be to the same degree as Outkast with like Andre 2000 and Big Boy, like they just stopped making music together. It's like and
Completely.
they're good, they're friends, and everything's perfect. They just stopped making music. I don't think it'll be to that level, but I definitely do see Conway kind of moving in his own way. He's talked about being an executive before, so is West Side Gun. Like I believe they both want to be bosses as opposed to just rappers. It is what it is, but I do think that there's some truth to it still.
Yeah, I mean, the thing too, they all have their own deals elsewhere. It's like Griselda is like the thing that they all kind of like have in common. But you have like deals at Shady, you have deals, forget where else they have deals at, but it's just like, yeah, they're all just doing their own thing, and they can't be doing the same thing together all the time. You always have to introduce something new and do different things. Like,
We've
so I
seen
get
that.
it.
We've seen that trick. That's like the oldest trick in the book, though, for the most part, is to open as a group, to start as a group, and then when you guys catch some success, you guys get hot, then y'all release solo albums. You see it with every group. I mean, Migos did it. Like they all do it. Like
Yeah.
Sway Lee just did it with like they all do it. They start off as a group, they get hot, and then they do release the solo albums. And sometimes they stay as a group, and sometimes that was it. The group was their entrance into the music business, and now they're split off forever. So we've seen it plenty of times.
Do you think? Okay, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like kind of like what you're saying, Chris. It's like I'm a believer that hold on, did I freeze?
Nope, you good.
Okay, Chris did. It's like I'm a believer that like crews come together, y'all create some good music, good work, whatever, right? And like really get yourselves put on the map. But like that's not to say that it's a bad thing that y'all kind of break off and do your own thing. Like I think like when we look at him leaving Griselda, it's like, yo, is it really on a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it that big of a deal that an artist decides to go solo and kind of do their own thing? Because like to you guys' point, right? You can't be doing the same thing all the time. But also maybe he just has other interests. Like becoming an executive at a different, like at a label or something like that is not part of Griselda's history, right? So I don't think it should be looked at as a bad way at all. It's like, when you think about crews, it's like, y'all might have your run, you know what I'm saying? And then y'all break off and kind of do your own thing. But it's like life kind of happens, you can't be a crew forever. Like, maybe their crew only worked out when they're only like, you know, at that age at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like all the stars aligned where like, you know, like they can make that kind of music and do that kind of thing together all the time. But like he talked about being a father, you know what I'm saying, and doing all this other stuff. And it's like maybe that's just not what you know, that crew was really trying to see. And, you know, he was like, well, I gotta break off and do my own thing now. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna take it. Somebody talk. Greta?
Oh, I honestly thought you guys froze because it froze like when John was talking. So, but my internet sucks. Yeah. So I mean, that's all the thoughts I had on that. Also, I think some of it was like to create some chatter around, Conway, and people do that. They stirred the pot a little bit, so people kind of like keep talking about him and whatnot. But yeah, let's move on to Robin Hood thing that happened. I'm sure most people are familiar with what happened.
I want to talk about the whole podcast. This is the thing I want to talk about here. This is exciting. Right.
Well, Edwin, bring us into it because I feel like you are the resident stock guy.
So, what's happening right now is pretty much Occupy Wall Street 2.0. Only this time we're playing their game and we're fucking them with it. So if you have some extra money laying around, this is not financial advice, but if you have some extra money laying around and you want to fuck some hedge fund people, invest your money in GameStop, AMC, and Nokia. There's a few out there also. I think BlackBerry, Naked, Bed Bath & Beyond. I think there's a few companies out there that I guess these hedge fund billion-dollar companies, more than billion-dollar. I mean, they have a lot of money. A lot of your money, actually, a lot of our money. When we talk about what's been happening the last year, where like a lot of the wealth has been transferred more towards the 99%, the 1%. That was last year. I mean, if you look, a lot of people lost their jobs, but a lot of people got rich. A lot of those Wall Street fat cats got rich, and a lot of us lost our jobs, and we're relying on, a $600 check coming in. So this is a way for you guys, for people out there, to the average Joe, to really kind of fuck the Goliath, I guess, of our country, and I don't know, get in on some fun stocks. So I personally have put some money into AMC and Nokia. I'm not that rich for GameStop stock, because I think you have to buy a full share. Robinhood, I guess they tried to get involved in this whole shenanigan. So I didn't even explain the short yet. That was kind of like the backstory. I got to get to the short now. So so what's happening with GameStop is there's a short, which is investing with stocks. You either are investing long or you're investing short. Investing long means you're putting money in so that the stock eventually goes up in price, hopefully goes up in price. And if it goes up in price, you've earned some money. Obviously, if it goes down in price, you've lost some money. Only thing with when you invest in long, you can only lose as much as you put in. So if you put in $100 and that stock rises, but then hits zero and loses all value, you only lost that $100. The thing with shorting is you can lose so much more than what you actually put in, because with shorting, what you're doing is you're borrowing stock. You're taking stock out on a loan at a certain rate. Let's say you borrowed 100 stocks at $1. You're taking that stock. You have a deal with that loaner to like return that stock maybe 30 days later, right? So you have 30 days to give that stock back, and whatever that price of the stock is, it doesn't matter, because you borrowed it at $1. You borrowed 20 shares at $1 or whatever. I said 100 shares at $1. So that's what you need to give back, plus interest, plus whatever interest. And so you're like, cool, I'll give that back in 30 days. And so in your head, you're like, I'm going to jack up the price of this thing. I'm going to sell it to some schmuck. That thing is going to go crashing down. When I return it back to you, it's going to be at the price you asked for. I'm going to make so much money off of selling it at a high point after it, and then once it dumps, whoever I sold it to is going to get so screwed, but I'm going to make so much money. And that's that, right? Only thing is, what they don't bet on is people actually keeping the stock afloat, because at the end of the day, they need to return that stock back at the 30 days. They need to return it to the loaner that they borrowed it from. But if that stock is still, let's say, for example, you bought it at $1, 100 shares for $1, and that stock is at $5. Whoo-wee! You got some debts, that you've accrued, because now you essentially owe five times what you've borrowed it for.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that's just me making it simple. What these hedge fund people owe with with GameStop being at 300, and what they shorted it out as, and all these people getting involved, essentially they can wind up losing all of their income through this. They've already lost, I think, what they say, 53% of their investments in January through GameStop. So this is literally the only way, not the only way. I don't know enough about stock market to know all the other legal loopholes or whatever. This is definitely one of those things that they over leveraged, they over shorted, they got greedy, and they try to short a company over 100%. And this is what happens. But they did not see this happening, because they didn't, essentially, you never expect the internet to internet until the internet. And that's what happened. The internet interneted, and everybody got involved. And now everybody knows, not only if we buy into GameStop will we make money, but we will also be fucking a goddamn hedge company up at the same time. And people, that is worth $1 million, if not whatever the share is at now, which is right around $200 something. So again, if you feel like fucking some people up, you know where to invest in. I am not a financial advisor, so if you lose all your money, it's not my fault. But that's pretty much the situation that's happening. Just real quick, Robinhood, why they're involved in this is that they got involved in the fucking middle. I actually put money in. I've actually bought AMC at like a super cheap rate or whatever like that. They actually stopped GameStop shares from being bought. They stopped AMC shares from being bought. They stopped Nokia shares from being bought. They were just like, no, you guys are doing crazy. You guys can't do that. That's fucking illegal. They're not supposed to do that. They did that anyway under some bullshit. I forgot what excuse they were saying. And I've been actually getting emails from them they've been trying to explain why they did. And
well, they're trying to say that they didn't have the funds to fund those stocks, because obviously they have to leverage and like, but it's stupid. I don't quite believe it.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. But now everybody hates Robinhood, so good luck. Like, it's funny because obviously their branding is Robinhood, and they tried to brand themselves as like the little guy, they're taking from the rich and giving back to the poor. And with one move, they've undid everything that they built so quickly.
Hold on. For all the listeners out there, could you explain what Robinhood is?
Robinhood is the old tale of the what is it? Some fairy in green.
No. The app. The app. What is it?
Oh, the app is an investment app, so you can buy stocks through that app.
All right. So Robinhood came along and was like, "Hey, yo, y'all ain't doing this no more. Shut it down." Right? That's the gist of all this.
Yeah.
So I have a couple things that came up to my mind about this. All right. When you do a short hold or whatever it is that you were explaining, where like, a bunch of people started buying in and the prices started going up and this company started, like, how can something be artificially inflated in value just because people own it?
That's just the stock market. That's just how it is.
Right.
It's literally speculation.
So my question is like, my actual question is, and this is like, we got into this a bit about
John, at the
crypto.
End of the day, at the end of the day, what the stock is worth, how much people think it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all.
No, and I get that. It's just more so of like, like systemically, right? Is this just the equivalent of printing money, more or less?
No. I mean, I guess, yeah, for sure.
In a point, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah, right, because a stock really isn't nothing. Like it's an assessed amount of value that a company is worth, right? And it's a percentage of ownership of that particular entity.
Yeah.
And so, like for example, right? Like if you bought like this mug and it's $1, right? And like you bought it at $1. There's only 20 mugs, and everybody wants this mug. And I could just basically keep saying like, yeah, this mug is now worth $20, $50, $80, $120. But there's still only 20 mugs, right? Where is that money coming from? Like, do we actually have to have somebody buy out that stock in order for us to get the money that we say it is?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have to. This is why I'm just a small time investor, John. You know.
That's why he's using Robinhood.
That's why I use Robinhood, John.
No,
He doesn't have all the answers.
Like I'm all for fucking the system. Don't get me wrong. Like those dudes, what they do, that's some real shifty shit. You know what I'm saying? But like, I really have these questions of like, yo, like such as Bitcoin, right? It's like I know like it's worth like $1 bajillion now. We missed the boat since 2006. Or whatever it is, like I get that, right? Like when we were chilling in a basement and Bitcoin came up for 14 cents a share, we were just like, yo, what the hell is Bitcoin? Right? But now I'm just like, yo, like if that shit's really worth like $15,000 a share, $30,000 a share, like if I go cash that out, where's that money coming from?
I think what you're saying, I agree with everything you're saying, but at the root of it, you're just asking why is money valuable at all? And I would say that I don't fucking know. That you're right. Why is any piece of paper have any fucking value at all? It's just something humans created to be able to control certain things and certain.
Right. This to me just sounds like printing money, right? It's like we don't know what the value of $1 is, so I could just say like, yo, like this mug is $50 million. But if I go to cash it out,
the thing is, if people think it's $50 million. Then it's $50 million. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, but like just because I think something doesn't mean that it really is, right?
No,
so like where's $50 million?
If more than one person thinks it's $50 million and somebody is willing to pay $50 million for it, then it's $50 million.
But that's the point. Somebody had to pay $50 million.
Yeah.
None of y'all paid $250 a share for GameStop stock.
They did.
So where'd that delta of $248 come from?
The market cap, but when everybody's putting money into a stock, I feel like that's when the stock rise. That's pretty much, I think, what it is. Like people are buying into the stock, which allows the stock to rise, you know. And there's a certain amount of shares. There's a certain amount of shares. So let's say, for example, there's 100 shares and people are buying up shares. The whatever you have left is going to get more expensive because there's only so many shares.
Mm-hmm. So there's basically like a savings account of like all this money that's being bought in, and like that's what's bumping the price up.
Yeah, the bumping. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. What did you say about the savings account thing?
It's like I'm just envisioning like, all right, like you're saying like there's only like X amount of stocks, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's buying in, and we're saying like, all right, like now one stock is worth $248. So somebody at some point paid $248 for that share.
Yeah.
Right. But that money basically is going into some type of like account where it says like, all right, this is how much money this whole company is worth. And then when you sell it, you're basically pulling money from that account. Is that right?
I think you're overcomplicating it. I'm gonna move on. Like I love this, but I feel like we're getting way too technical. So I'm gonna move on. But like pretty much, what it is a store of value. So people buy into it, they think it's worth something, so they put money into it. The more shares are bought up, the more the other shares that's available drives up. It's supply and demand. It's yeah. I don't have all the answers for it, but it's pretty much I don't know. That's all I got.
No, I think it's really interesting stuff. I'm just asking like the layman's term side of it, right?
I think that pretty much is rooted. I think that is pretty much the layman's terms of like what like any of these, like whether it be stocks, whether it be cryptocurrency, that's what it is. It's a market cap. You have a certain amount. People are willing to buy into it because they believe in it on some level. They believe that it has value on some level. So they buy into it. And the more they buy into it, the less there is of that thing because there's always a cap of it. And so whatever is left, it goes up in value based on what people have bought up already. So it's, like I'm not a stock expert at all, but that's pretty much as far as you're going to get from me explaining it. And that I feel like that's, not, it's not all accurate, but it's pretty accurate, I guess, to the very, very basic levels of what stock market and cryptocurrency and anything that really has any sort of quote unquote value is.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right, I say your next album drop, only have one album, like literally one copy of it, and do that Wu-Tang thing where you charge like $1 million for it just to see if somebody will buy it.
But technically, I mean, here's the thing. It's people have tried it and failed. People have tried it and it works. Nipsey tried that. Nipsey said that his artwork was worth $100 for his album. And he sold it, and he made a ton of money off of that because he set the price. He said that this is worth this much. Who's to say that it's not worth that much? You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, when you think about the amount of hours and investment that's up front on an album, I'm surprised music isn't more expensive. Like when you think about what CDs used to go for, which is like $10 a CD on a brand new drop or something, right? Or $12.99. That seems to be a really good deal when you consider there's like 20 tracks on there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I think music is vastly undercharged for it. Like I think on a good album, like something that you have like mad replay on or whatever, like a good, I don't know, like Good Kid, Mad City, for example, right? That album should be like, $80.
But the reason it's not is because the industry is what the industry is. I think that if Kendrick was independent, he can create that body of work, say it's worth that much. If he's able to create a buzz where people believe it's worth that much, people will pay that much. But people are stuck in whatever industry that's been created before they got there. And they walk into that and they're like, oh, this is how you play the game? Okay, I'll play the game. And when they lose, they cry foul, as we've seen with Styles P. But that's what the fuck you're getting into. Just tying it back to what the fuck we were talking about earlier. It is what it is. But you don't have to fall into it. You can say that your shit is worth whatever. And if you believe it, and if somebody else was willing to pay for it, and they believe it is, it is what it is. It's the price that you've set it. That goes for anything. That goes for like everything we talk, stocks, albums, whatever you're charging. Why is anything worth anything at the end of the day? Why is diamonds worth anything at the end of the day? It's all the same question.
Or like gold, like it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. All right. Well, let's move on to more depressing things. So T.I. recently is facing some allegations of rape and sex trafficking by 15 women. Super fucked up.
Yeah, it's tough to talk about this because when this series of allegations come out, and this is like life-damaging allegations, I'm always kind of wary until I believe in due process. Unless it's obvious to the fucking core that a foul has happened. If it's something where it's like somebody's word against somebody else's word. Which so far this is kind of what we're getting. It's these women have come forward, and I obviously I believe women, absolutely believe women, but I also believe in due process. So I do believe that these women are right to come forward. I hope that these women actually seek charges, and I hope that there's a fair process for T.I. if something happened or not happened, and we'll see. With the court system, obviously, I'm not saying the court system is fucking you. It's solid. It's like a solid. We can trust it. But in a situation like this, man, it's so much. I don't know what the fuck happened. I wasn't there in the room with T.I. These allegations, like I said, man, this shit is serious allegations. So I don't want to say too much because I need to see. Right now these women who've come forward, a lot of them I think are anonymous. For one reason or another, that's okay. But I feel like where my heart is now is I definitely would like to see more an investigation, and I want to know more. But I'm too afraid to really say fuck T.I. right now, whatever, because I don't know, man. It's there's a lot to think about here. It's a very, very, very serious allegations against him and his wife as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack, and I definitely don't want to speculate on stuff that I don't know. But yeah, apparently there were some messages leaked and things like that. So So yeah, I don't know.
I will say, you know, I always believe that's the truth lies somewhere in between, you know. So I mean, like I said, because these women haven't, like, a lot of these women are anonymous, we don't know like who they are, whether they're or not they exist. I think if they come forward and they are able to show themselves, I think that would like make me believe more that this is like all, you know, even further like truthful. Just because it, like, if you're willing to put yourself out there, like for me that just seems like this. Why would this person go through the trouble of saying this person did something, you know, and coming out and saying, you know, putting their face out there and saying it, like, you know, I understand being anonymous because it's like it's a painful thing to have to go through, but at the same time, I think there is a level of like me, I guess, like fully understanding and believing if they were to come out and say, you know, this is what they went through, put their face out there, and also file a police report rather than just like coming out and saying it on a Twitter post. I think that's the first step, and I hope that they continue on and they go further. If they, you know, like, because I choose not to judge people off of Twitter. I choose not to. Twitter is such a vile place that, like, you don't know what's real and what's not. So I choose not to. So many things come from Twitter that's truthful, that's not truthful. I choose not to base my whole understanding of what's happening in life off Twitter. So I just need to see like actual like movement forward, like, you know, before I make any sort of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Twitter's full of like bots and all kinds of shit. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, I think what we'll probably end up running into a lot in our lifetime, especially with like all these different artists and stuff, when we reference, like, I'm not saying that I speculate that this is either truth or you know, or lies or whatever, but it's just more of like when you look at other artists that were like major, right, like the Michael Jacksons or R. Kellys of the world and stuff. You know, I think that there is a what is that, like a likelihood that this isn't going to be the last time we hear about stuff like this. And it's really sad because these are definitely people that, you know, like, I think of it from, you know, the victim's perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine like your voice going against, you know, somebody who's so powerful, and you have, you know, basically, you know, no way of swaying the public. And then, like, you know, you find out that you're not the only one who went through this. It's like, you know, 15 people like that. Yeah. Like, if it was like one or two people, like, you could kind of be like, maybe this is fabricated, who knows, right? But 15, man, like, that whole three sides to the story perspective, like, that's, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saddened to hear that this is asked to be somebody, especially for T.I. It's kind of like, you know, I guess, like, I don't mean to make this a light situation because it's not, but like, you know, he happens to use, like, you know, all these big phrases to explain, like, you know, what's going on and like what can be happening and stuff like that. And it's just like, for someone who's you know, decently educated about stuff, right? It's just like, damn, dude, like, you are like you could be looked up to basically as somebody who can, like, you know, be like a good role model or example for the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like, I think I heard about him, like, you know, helping people, like, you know, basically like turn around and not want to commit suicide and things like that in the past as well, yeah. Right?
I think that's what T.I. tries to be, and I think that's what he is to a lot of people. I see T.I. as that, but I don't see T.I. as a perfect person. I do think T.I. is like a community leader. I do think he's a role model to a lot of people, but I also do think there's a lot of sides to T.I. that isn't like, and you gotta like it you know, like, for example, like the things with his daughter. Do you remember, like, you heard about the things with his daughter?
No,
that's just weird.
He's super overprotective of his daughter. He talked about like making sure like the gynecologist like is like checking to see if her hymen's intact to make sure she's not fucking, like, just weird possessive shit. And like when you hear news like that, like, and then you hear news like this, like it like, I hate to say it, but it does, like, for some people, like, it does paint a picture of like who, like, kind of this person is. So like he has, like, and a lot of people like trust him as a community leader and somebody who's like a good person. But then other people, a lot of women that I've talked to actually too, have had their reservations about T.I. because he does seem overly possessive of women's bodies, and this news here, it certainly doesn't help his image, you know, and there's a little bit of like some sort of a track record when it comes to sort of these sort of things. I don't know, like I said, man, I want to wait for there to be an actual investigation where we can get some hard evidence before I mean, obviously, if he did some shit like this, it's fucked up. It's fucked. It's definitely absolutely fucked up. You know, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. Until we find out more. Wait to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump to CJ Rapper. He is a rapper that I'm not too familiar with.
All right.
But
so have you guys listened to Whoopty?
Whoopty.
I have, yeah.
All right. Have you guys listened to his new banger? Bop?
What's his?
Yeah. So
Bop?
I got introduced to him with his new song, and then I went back and looked at other.
You got introduced him with the new song. Wow, you are lucky, bro. All right, I'm sorry, CJ. I have to go in for a second, bro. So I want to play this new song. So you listen to Whoopty, John, and I guess Krita. I just want to go back to Bop. Bop is his new song. So Whoopty, if you haven't listened to it, you've missed. I mean, it pretty much was a viral hit. So you've at some point had to have listened to it. It kind of went off on TikTok. And you know, he kind of had a little bit of a buzz going. He's kind of like the new 6ix9ine-ish, doing that drill shit. He's kind of taken over a little bit for Pop Smoke. Here's the thing with CJ. He fucking can't rap. This dude cannot rap at all. So let's listen to Bop real quick. Let's listen to a little bit of Bop, and I'll see what I mean.
Yeah, just do like less than 30 seconds.
Okay, all right. That's all I got.
I think that's all I wanted to see.
Okay, what did he say in any of that?
Hold on. Okay, so I get it that like this guy comes off as like a direct replica of like other artists or whatever. Because I read an article about how like, you know, like there's a lot of like even like down to the ad libs in some of these rappers is the same shit or something like that, right? But I'm gonna just stand on this edge right here and just say there's a lot of rappers where I don't even understand what they talked about in a lot of their songs. They just sound good. You know what I'm saying?
I guess you're right. Okay, so I think as long as you can say shit fly, it flies. I got you. But I don't think that he can get away with that. I'm still in my brain. I'm like that guy. You know that meme where the dude's kind of like he's looking like mad confused. That's how my face turns when I'm listening to this dude.
Yeah, it's not good, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like what he did was like, it's basically just like basically taking a bunch of leftovers like in the fridge and just dumping it in a bowl and just trying it out.
And did you guys notice that he uses the same vocabulary in both like the Whoopty and the Bop song? Like it's like he like took the same lyrics and just like moved a few words around and it's the same song, but like different, like kind of different. Like he's plagiarizing himself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the vocabulary is very you know, undeveloped, I guess. I don't understand why this dude's going off right now. You know, obviously like Pigeons and Planes wrote a blog about him, and that like that's where I'm getting from. I'm actually getting it. Like I've been thinking this, but this week I felt validated in thinking it because Pigeons and Planes wrote that article, and I thought they came up with a really, really, really good article on like why this CJ dude is ass. I'm sorry, CJ, but it's true. Mm-hmm. And then you know, I've seen a couple people in my timeline actually saying the same shit. So I no longer feel alone in thinking that this dude is ass. So you know, it is what it is. John, what do you guys say about it?
Look, man, I think that there's mad rappers out there that do the same shit, that pick out all the same like high level details and just execute on them, right? It's like I can't really be mad at CJ for like getting it to work, because I mean, like, we're talking about him right now, and like he had a lot of views on YouTube, man. And like that whole thing is like, we just talked about like unity in hip hop and stuff like that. That shit is not like, if a Boston rapper made that, like they would not have that kind of traction. You know what I'm saying?
But I feel like that, like his whole thing, I think, is when you look at somebody, one, who could be a plant, and two, who could be literally career driven through hot beats. I think he's an example of both those things. I think I heard that his uncle was the former president of Bad Boy Records. Bad Boys. Okay, so he's gotten in the record industry. And then also, the drill beat is hard. The drill shit is hard. I fucking love the beats. What he does with it, I think, is very little, and it adds nothing. Besides a kind of like a coolish kind of guy flow, but he doesn't really add anything to it. And so, like, I don't know. I don't think he's anything special. I don't know why New York people are just like, I don't know, jumping on this dude's bandwagon, but I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I'm not sold.
Y'all gotta come back. That he left the chat.
Yeah. Chris having some issues right now. He's having some issues right now, but fuck it. That's all we really have to talk about. So unless you want to say some more shit about CJ, I'm sorry, you ain't for me, bro. You ain't for me. You know, we can close it out here. Thank you guys for joining us. If you guys fuck with what we do, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button, and go to all, so you guys get all of our notifications. It's cold out there. Cop a hat. Cop one of these new Grindhouse hats. We will hand deliver it to you. So please go out there and support us. There's also a ton of shit on the Grindhouse store for you guys, like mugs and hoodies and whatnot. So definitely got your winter gear covered for you if you guys want to support us. Thank you, John, for joining us. And Krita, hopefully you're alive somewhere. I don't know where you went. Peace.